everyone. Welcome back to ThoughtfulLeigh. This is the third part of the credit series where in part two we talked about credit reports. So today is a supplement of that and kind of like an office hours where we're in video style looking at a credit report. I'm using a TransUnion one since they have a resource on their website which is all about how to read your credit report. I will include it as a link down below, but it will also be in the credit report article if you want to read more about what credit reports are, what type of information is on there. All right, so let's get started. So this first part mentioned in the credit series part 2, again on credit reports. This is the personal information section of the credit report. So here it's kind of showing that John Smith, this is their credit report, and they've had accounts open where their name was either John Smith or John J. Smith. His date of birth, and then also social security number. And this is also saying that accounts for John Smith have been reported to TransUnion since April 1985. Addresses this is saying that of the accounts he's opened, these are the addresses that were used and the date that they were reported to TransUnion. This is an interesting part of the credit report to look at. Sometimes if you do set up a credit monitoring alert with your bank or your credit card company or something else, they will kind of send you an alert saying a new account was opened with a new address. It's kind of useful just to look and see to make sure that all the addresses on your credit report are actually your credit report and that none of them are addresses you never looked at. Because then that might tell you that you have to start looking into something there. Phone numbers that were reported, and then any employers that you may have put on your application in terms of when you're applying for a mortgage, you're gonna have to put who you're working for and stuff like that. And so they do have a learn more section where if you click that button, it'll tell you more information about what to look for and how it might impact your credit score. All right, so now moving on from personal information, we will talk about public records. So the credit report will have any public records. So if you file for bankruptcy, it will say if you file for Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Here it shows John did file Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And then this Learn More button will again talk about what to look for. There is a distinction between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 for how long it stays on your credit report, so it kind of goes over that. And it also talks again about how it might impact your credit score. Moving on for public records. We then have this section is kind of a key for how to further read the information that's going to be shown on your trade lines. Again, we talked about trade lines in the credit report article on part 2, but this is kind of just saying, in paying each trade line, what's your financial status on these accounts? If it's been current, if you had any delinquencies of being 30 to 120 days plus late, if you've had any collections, so this is where you were late on the account and the financial institution ultimately decided to close the account and put it with a collection agency. If it was a voluntary surrender or repossession for a car, and then if the account was charged off, so kind of maybe for a credit card, or if a house or a mortgage was placed into foreclosure. So now moving further, so the way that this credit report is set up, it looks like first it's going to talk about your adverse accounts, so your adverse trade lines, and then a bit further down after that, it'll talk about all the trade lines where you're currently current. And we'll talk about adverse versus current now. So for this trade line, the financial institution is ABC Credit Card. This is their address. This is a credit card as a loan. It's a revolving account. This is the credit card number, financial institution's phone number. So here, this is saying that the balance on the card is currently $438. The monthly payment, when you're looking at your credit card statement, it says, or you try and pay your credit card and it says pay the minimum amount. So it looks like here the minimum amount is $15. on this credit card. The credit card was opened January 21. It's an individual account, meaning that this is not an account that is opened with someone else. You'll see that more with mortgages or like an auto loan, or more of like a loan where there can be co-borrowers. But here is just an individual. This is saying currently the account is current. And that means that this person has paid the balance that they should have paid. Here, this is saying that the last payment received on the account was the $15. That is the minimum amount. The last payment made was on June 16th, and then this trade line was updated to reflect that payment on June 17th. And again, this is confirming the minimum amount that should have been paid was $15. This is saying the credit limit on that account, so like this person can't exceed this amount, is $550. The highest the balance has been over the course of a card being open was $510. So now we're going to get more into the actual payments section of this trade line summary. So it's saying here this is the balance for each month. So it looked like March was the month where they had the highest balance. The scheduled payment again was $15. The amount paid, so it did look like in April they missed a payment. The amount paid was $0. And then the past due amount here for April, since they missed the $15 minimum payment, I'm assuming there was also a $5 in their contract. They had a $5 late fee, so that's the reason why it's saying $20 was past due. So this 30 days means that John was 30 plus days late of not paying his credit card. On a credit report, this format is just kind of just visually showing like this person was okay for this month, or this person, in the case of April, was 30 days late. But on some credit reports, it will show the number of times each person was late. So it will say like 30, 60, 90, and then under 30, it would say 1. And then for 60 and 90, it would show 0. Since John paid off the card before he was 60 days late and before he was 90 days late. Now moving on. So after the adverse account section, it will show your trade lines that were satisfactory, or that's just the way that this credit report is set up. So this account, the financial institution is ABC Auto. This is their address. It's an auto loan. This is the account number, the institution's phone number. And so this is saying that this is the monthly payment amount that was established. So it's $400. This account was opened January 21. Again, so John is the sole borrower on this account. This is an installment account. The last payment made on this account was June 16th, and it was for the full $400. So under this terms, it's saying $400 per month. Loan term is how long the loan is for. So this is counting in months, so it's 72 months. All right, so this is a 6-year loan. Not speaking in months, but you'll see loan term as just the amount of months. And so the original loan amount was $30,000. But here it's saying the balance was $29,600. So this, I believe, is saying that John, as part of closing, paid the first $400, but reported the high balance was $29,600. And so you'll see here each month the balance is going down by the $400. The scheduled payment is $400. Since John made all payments on time, the amount paid is $400, and the past due amount is 0. And you'll see here, okay, for all the ratings. Now, as I was talking about earlier, for that, some credit reports show the number 30, 60, 90s. Here, 0 would be under all 30, 60, 90. This Learn More section would talk more about different things that might be useful for looking at this type of trade line. Now we go into collections. So this is saying like John had an account where he became past due on it, and the financial institution decided to move it to a collections agency, which is now being responsible for the financial institution to collect the debt. So this is saying XYZ collections agency has been assigned this loan, and the balance is this amount. Pay status and collection. So the original, and here if you look more into this section, I'll kind of talk more about what might be useful things to look at when you're looking at collection trade lines. So an inquiry is, let's say I really want to open a credit card. And so let's say I go to XYZ Bank, or this is the case ABC Bank, and I filled out an application. ABC Bank then, from me filling out the application, would, the term is called pull credit, which is basically try to look up my information on the different credit reporting agencies. So like it'll ask like TransUnion or like Experian or like Equifax, like what's my financial history. With inquiries, yes, with credit cards, I know this is popular in that some people like a lot of credit cards, but you do kind of have to pace yourself in terms of opening financial accounts, because there are some credit card companies might have different policies on like what's a high amount inquiry for them in terms of when you can get a new card. And then for mortgages, they might look at it in terms of like how close the inquiry date or the requested date is to you trying to get the mortgage, or how many inquiries you're placing around the time that you're trying to get the mortgage. So here, John made a request for credit with ABC Bank on January 1st. This is their address. This is their phone number. So John, again, he's trying to be the sole borrower on this credit account. Here, the Learn More section, again, talks about different things that might be useful. So then it actually does talk about hard pulls, or here they call it hard inquiries. So this could be more useful information to read over. John made some requests with a cell phone company and then also an insurance company. And you can read more about that here as well. These soft pulls, as they kind of talk about here, they are saying, so hard inquiries can impact your credit score in terms of if you're getting a lot of inquiries, it can bring down your credit score. But they're saying here these soft pulls, they don't really impact your credit score. It just really depends on the institution in terms of whether they're going to do a hard or a soft pull on your credit report. This looks like it's account reviews, which is saying here that maybe an insurer or another authorized company try to look at your credit report. And again, these are soft pulls or soft inquiries, are not hard ones, so they're not going to affect your credit score. But again, another useful section to look over in terms of the Learn More. And so it looks like TransUnion lets you put a statement on your credit report. This is what this section is saying. So this is saying that John put a note on his credit report to say like maybe why he couldn't make a payment. Because again, there was that payment in April that he missed. And so he's saying here, I couldn't make the payment due to being impacted by COVID. And this explains more about the consumer statement, because I believe this is maybe a TransUnion thing, but I'm not sure. This is just some summary of rights information so FCRA is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and then it talks more about kind of what your rights are under FCRA. And you can press Learn More here, and it kind of gives you more information. So TransUnion, again, it does look like they now offer free weekly credit reports, but they're trying to say that your credit score is not offered on the free weekly one.